Nathaniel, good to go? Or you want me to? Okay. Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I very much appreciate it. I want to first just convey my gratitude to the people standing behind me. I want to thank so many of the members of our Hudson County legislative delegation, and why don't I just take them each by name? I think it's important. So first, I want to start with Senator and the Mayor of Union City, Brian Stack. We're very grateful that the senator's come here. He no longer represents Jersey City, although he used to. So we miss you, Senator, but we're very appreciative that you're here. I want to thank our other two senators. We want to thank Senator Angela McKnight and Senator Raj Mukherjee. All three senators have been extraordinary leaders and extraordinarily helpful and have offered their full support to Jersey City. I want to thank our Assembly delegation. I want to thank Assemblyman Larry Wainstein, Assemblywoman Katie Brennan, Assemblyman Ravi Bala, Assemblyman Will Sampson, and Assemblyman Jerry Walker. And I don't believe Assemblyman Rodriguez is here, but he has been supportive as well. Thank you to our Assembly people. And I want to thank our council members, many who are here. We have Councilwoman Singh, Councilman Efros, Councilman Zupa, as well as the full City Council as well. So we are grateful for all of you being here. It genuinely makes me proud to serve alongside these public servants, servants who stretch across geographic boundaries, ideological boundaries, because we are all standing here today on the side of good government and fixing the extraordinary challenge that Jersey City has in front of me, in front of us. Thank you for being our partners. Thank you for working together. 20 short days ago, I promised at my inauguration to always be honest with the people of Jersey City. And today, I'm here to keep that promise, even when the truth is painful. What we are presenting today is the first full public accounting of Jersey City's financial condition in years. The people of our city deserve to know how their money is being spent, how their dollars are being used or abused. And what I'm going to lay out today is a pattern of systemic mismanagement, systemic abuse of the city's finances by the former mayor and his administration. We will show that at every turn, the former mayor used the city's budget to avoid making hard decisions, to shift responsibility, and to prop up his own political ambitions. And what did the people of Jersey City get in return? The largest financial crisis in the city's history. That's an examination by our team and independent experts. We're able to report that our budget deficit just this year sits at approximately $250 million. In fact, 254. $254 million, that is 28% of our operating budget. To put that in other terms, for every dollar we spend, we only have 72 cents coming in. Our deficit is greater than the size of our entire public safety department, police and fire combined. And it is not a one-year problem. It was built year after year after year. It was built on deception. It was built on gimmicks. It was built on irresponsible decision-making. It was built on incompetence, and it was built on vanity. Last week, my fellow mayor in New York announced a budget crisis of his own. Our deficit is 6 times as great as the one he announced a few days ago. There were clear warning signs from experts, not politicians or political interests. Over the last 3 years, all three major rating agencies downgraded Jersey City's credit rating. Most recently in December, when Moody's described the city as financially struggling with deteriorating liquidity, despite an overall economic condition. How did we get here? Let me walk through it. This crisis was not inevitable. When other major cities have faced serious financial crises, they have faced collapsing national economy, the collapse of an industry, population flight. Instead, in Jersey City, this has happened during a time of economic prosperity, while the city is growing and our economy is booming. And that does create a tiny bit of solace because it provides a foundation for us to work back from. But it also underscores how deeply, deeply unnecessary this current condition is. We had an enormous period of prosperity, including the largest federal infusion of funds in American history, and it was squandered. And instead, we face a historic deficit and hard decisions for the city's future. Let me say more about that. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, federal relief funds provided the city with almost $140 million, an incredible opportunity to stabilize our city's finances. And in 2021, during his re-election campaign, the former mayor used $66 million for a one-time only tax cut. In fact, he used the vast majority of that money to prop up budget holes and gimmicks, spending it all instead of using it to stabilize our city's finances. Other cities use their money differently. Pittsburgh replaced its service lines. Detroit built affordable housing. Cleveland established a community investment program. Austin created a housing-first approach to homelessness. These were real, concrete investments that made the lives of the people in their cities better. Meanwhile, Jersey City got a one-time election year tax break that then led to the creation of the structural deficit we're outlining today. Having one office, chose not to grapple with year's increasing structural budget deficit. And instead, he engaged in a series of practices to hide and delay accountability. Deception through systemic underbudgeting and one-time revenue gimmicks. First, systemic underbudgeting. Year after year, the city knowingly budgeted less than was actually needed to cover expenses. And instead, they put the money on the city's credit card. They borrowed, and this was not a one-time overspend. It was pattern and practice. Our report details several categories of underbudgeting. For example, the previous administration let 6 union contracts expire and failed to set aside the $12 million that will be required to pay those unions retro pay. Same with $8 million for retirement payouts, $1 million for tax appeals. But the most egregious, systemic example of underbudgeting was the city's health costs. Currently, in this year, the city is sitting on $52 million in unpaid medical bills from 2024 and 2020. Costs that should have been paid in those years pushed into the future to avoid bad headlines. Pushed to deceive the public about the true costs of the city's budget. One consequence of this deception, without the appropriate amount of budget to pay our health bills, we paid them late. So we were forced to pay $1 million in late fees in 2023, $1 million in late fees in 2024, $1 million in late fees in 2025. 3 taxpayers of Jersey City, the largest healthcare companies in the world, didn't pay our bills on time, intentionally. When our transition team arrived, we were given 2026 health projection of $55 million. Outside experts examined, and the true cost, $195 million. With the credit card bill growing rapidly, the former mayor turned to budget gimmicks to use city finances and maintain a stable, functioning financially a healthy city. Those gimmicks, all those gimmicks provide cover in our city's long-term fiscal health. Let's go through a few of them. During his tenure, the former mayor sold nearly 1,000 city properties and used over $100 million in land sales to cover one-time budget gaps. On multiple occasions, including last year, I called out this practice during a budget hearing, asking the administration where they were going to pay for this money next year. We had more land to sell. At some point, you run out of land and the bill comes due. Even worse, in a period of economic growth, our city's rainy day fund has been drained to zero. In the last 4 years, over $100 million was spent out of the city's rainy day fund that we no longer have a positive balance. We are having negative balance in our rainy day fund during a period of economic growth. The city also cut an irresponsible 4-year deal with the water authority that will deprive the city of revenue and create higher utility bills in the future. Since 2019, these short-term gimmicks have totaled $667 million. $667 million. Each one-time action built the house of cards. Each one-time action made the house of cards more and more unstable. Each one-time action put the ambitions of one person above the health of 300,000. Layered on top of the deception, the gimmicks, and irresponsible decision-making was extraordinary incompetence and gross negligence. Here are just a few examples. The city overpaid federal and state taxes by the tune of $3 million. The IRS supported the city, but no one ever responded. And now those $3 million are lost. Again, taken from the taxpayers of Jersey City, given to the federal government with not a single thing we can do. We missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in reimbursements because the Public Safety Department never answered emails for overtime reimbursements we were due. There's currently no capital investment plan, a forward-looking plan on improving our city. Regardless, it would be hard to build a capital investment plan because there is no inventory of city assets. For the last couple of years, our $8 million contract for the VIA rideshare service has been improperly paid out of capital funds instead of operating funds. This is budgeting 101, plans for the future, controls on how money is spent, a government that actually cares about its people. Jersey City lacked all of that. On top of the incompetence was vanity. While the fiscal health of the city deteriorated, the former mayor continued to pursue vanity projects to burnish his credentials for higher office. The most notable and expensive example is pursuit of bringing Paris Museum to Jersey City. This project had a single. The city has spent over $20 million on consultants for this project, including $7.5 million for one single consultant, despite there not being a credible plan to build the museum. Now the House of Cards is closed. Why now? Because the tricks have run out. All of these deferred charges, all of these gimmicks are coming home to roost. We have to pay back $50 million in the health insurance that was never paid for in 2024 and 2025. We have to pay back $13 million in funded capital discovered in 2013, but nothing was done for 12 years. Debt service from all this borrowing continues to increase. We've exhausted all of our one-time sources of revenue. $33 million from land sales last year. All that must be plugged. $28 million in cash reserves from a rainy day fund. There's nothing left. Federal relief, gone years ago. So this is where we're at. This is the state of Jersey City's finances. I promised on the campaign trail and at my inauguration to be honest with the people of Jersey City. Previous leadership broke the trust of the people of Jersey City. There are two core tenets of what public service is. First is you put the people above yourself. Second is you leave things better off than you found them. Those tenets have been broken. And to restore trust in this city, I start by telling the truth. Looking forward, the solution to this problem will not come in 8 more weeks. It will take years. It will take all of the above approach paired with dedicated, engaged leadership, which is why I'm so grateful to all the people standing behind me, because they have raised their hands to commit to this tough work, because they care about the people of this city. And I promise to be a leader who will work each and every day to earn the trust back of the people of Jersey City. As we work to find solutions, there are 5 guiding principles that will guide us. First, we will put people over politics. Every choice we make will prioritize the people of Jersey City and get us back. Second is we will always tell the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. The third is we will lead by example. No member of this administration will be going to Paris.
We will fight to minimize the impacts on working families. If you knock on a door in Jersey City, people are not flush with cash. Taxes have gone up. Rent has gone up. Food has gone up. Healthcare has gone up. Education costs have gone up. The people of Jersey City should not be the ones to bear the costs for irresponsible decisions that we're not there doing. And last but not least, we will get back to stability. The city deserves a responsible government that sound footing, not just for 1 year, but for decades to come. And that is what we promise to deliver. So what have we done so far, at least in the initial stages? First, we brought in a team of incredible professionals to get us through this. We've hired a new finance director, Bill Vaquera, a seasoned finance professional who lives right here in Jersey City. He served as the CFO of Energy Transit, and he knows municipal finance in and out. We've brought in a team across the city of independent municipal experts from CUNY, at the City University of New York's Institute for State and Local Government, ISNG is the acronym. These are extraordinary leaders, people who have helped dozens of cities across the country navigate financial turnarounds. They have the expertise, and we're so grateful for their help. We've already taken a major step to address our budget challenge. We changed our third-party health administrator from Horizon to Aetna. We project that this change will reduce city health insurance spending this year by around $30 million. We do have to say, the former administration had a chance to implement this change January 1st. They ignored it. We did it for March 1st. Now, switching health insurance providers is helpful. $30 million means a lot, but it's only the beginning as you deal and grapple with a $250 million deficit. So here's what comes next. We're going to continue to complete our analysis of the city's full financial picture. We've learned a lot, but there's still more for us to learn, areas for us to explore, particularly around the capital fund and the finances of these various agencies and authorities. We need to know exactly what we're doing. For the first time in Jersey City's recent history, at least, maybe on the whole, we will build out a 5-year budget plan. Enough of the 1-year gimmicks, enough of the 1-year band-aids. We must have a sustainable 5-year plan that we will present publicly to the people of Jersey City so that they will be able to walk, read it, push us on it, and we'll create our roadmap towards that stable financial future. Third, we are going to meet with everyone. We are going to engage stakeholders across the state to build a coalition to get us back to stable financial health. And most importantly, we're going to engage the entire community in Jersey City in this process. Because here's the truth, solving a crisis this big is going to require hard choices. And I refuse to make those choices behind and tell folks about that. You elected me to lead, but leadership doesn't mean whatever it is that I want. It means bringing people together, being honest about outcomes, and making decisions that reflect the values of the communities that we lead. Over the coming weeks and months, we will be holding town halls. We're meeting community organizations, labor leaders, business leaders, and residents in every neighborhood. This is your city, and this is your money. You deserve a seat. Before I close, I do want to address a couple items that may come. First is, some folks might say, doesn't every mayor blame their predecessor for all the problems? Let's be fair. That does happen, but this is something entirely different. Systemic pattern of decisions made over years that prioritize one man's political ambitions over the long-term health of the city. The true costs of city operations were hidden year by year, knowingly budgeting less than was needed to borrow to cover the difference. 1,000 city properties were sold off, the rainy day fund depleted. This isn't about disagreement, it's about deception. And I want to make clear my own record during this process. As a councilman for the last 8 years, I voted against every single budget the administration proposed for the exact reasons I lay out today. I proposed alternatives, I warned the public, but I wish we had done significantly more to prevent this day from occurring. A crisis of this scale requires many failures for many people. I've been mayor for 3 weeks. I know there's a core motto of being the buck stops here. You deserve leaders who tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And most of all, you deserve a government that never, ever puts themselves above all of your. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in a tough spot. I won't pretend otherwise. But here's the thing I know about Jersey City. We're resilient, we're tough, we're strong, and we've gone through challenges before. In this last century, the tragedy of 9/11, the Great Recession, Hurricane Sandy. Each time the city was struck with a tragedy, with a crisis, we got through it stronger, healthier, more human. And that is what we are going to do this time together. Gabby and I know that in our toughest time, the city had our backs, and we know this is the kind of city where neighbors take care of each other and they lift each other up. My message directly to the people of Jersey City is this: this crisis is not your making. You didn't make this mess, but I know and truly believe we can work together to put ourselves on a better path. A government as good as its people starts with telling the truth and will continue with earning your trust by working your butts off each day to get us back to a solution and get us back to sound financial footing. So with that, I want to bring up Danny.
If questions that get really technical, if you want to really get into the numbers after the press conference here, but all other questions we can take now. If, when I call on you, if you can give your name and outlet, that would be fantastic. I have 2 microphones on either side as well for the people who are listening. Yes, over here, far right. David.
Better like David.
How you doing, Mayor? My name is David Cruz. So we're in truth-telling mode now. So when do local residents, or when should local residents expect that the real truth of tax increases, service cuts, are going to?
So the core of what we can do, and where I laid out that point forward, is look at get the full financial scope out. Then meet with residents. So we were discussing this with them together. And then it's a statewide coalition to be able to have a 5-year plan to get us through this. And that's why bringing in the outside, the community, why having Bill here is so helpful. So we are going to go through that process together. We're not about to introduce a budget. So folks should expect that in the coming weeks. Because the most important thing, now that we've outlined the scale and scope of this crisis, is to work together on a solution. But I will tell you what I'm guided by. I'm guided by knowing that people of Jersey City have had their life made unaffordable over the last 5 years. The taxes have gone up 50%, probably the most in the state. Can't verify that. Gander, that's a pretty safe thing to say. Their rent has gone up, so in the state. Healthcare and food have gone up for everybody. So I know that the people of Jersey City are being asked to pay so much. That is going to be the guiding principle of how we get through this. Yeah.
So, but has got to be tax increases and service adjustments at least. I mean, I'm just trying to get people ready.
Understood. Look. I think it is fair to say that every option is on the table, right? With a crisis of this magnitude, we can't take a single thing off the table. But again, our commitment with our statewide partners is a sustainable 5-year solution that understands that the people of Jersey City have suffered a lot of that. And then
I can speak loudly now. You said everything is on the table.
Yeah.
Thank you. You said everything is on the table. Does that include furloughs or staff cuts?
So I want to be clear, right? We have had 0 conversations about those because the first thing we have to do is get these facts, right? We know that we have to deliver better city services for the people of the city. No matter what the commitment is, to know that it doesn't matter that the job is tough, we have to deliver. So we have to deliver better city services for the people going forward.
Just on his left.
Yes, Ali got a mic.
So you have a budget crisis. What are your revenue sources? Where are you going to be able to, I mean, the taxpayer bottom line, are there other places you're seeking?
Absolutely. I mean, and again, I'm going to come back to this. Everything's on the table. We're going to look at revenue sources. We're going to look at different ways we can raise revenue. And foremost, we're going to be making sure corporations and developers that hardworking families have been hit. We're going to look for revenue sources across the state, working with our state. Point, and again, we need that 5-year plan. We're going to keep talking about a 5-year plan because that's how you get to a sustainable future. We got into this mess by creating 1-year gimmick after 1-year gimmick after 1-year gimmick, right? That is not sustainable. So whatever we put in place is going to be sustainable. It's going to be a 5-year plan, and after those 5 years, it's going to be financially sensitive. I want to just make this point, and I want to make it maybe a little more clarity. The underlying economy is strong, and that provides a base and a foundation from which we can get back to a stable footing. Again, other cities have gone through similar things like this. There's been a larger economic crisis. There's been, like I said, the national economic collapse, or there's been an industry that collapses, or population flight. That is not because we have a strong underlying economy, and that strong underlying economy is going to be the basis upon which we rebuild. And I think that's important, and that makes us different than other times you've seen budget crisis in this magnitude.
Hello, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are we going? We're over here first.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm from the New York Times. Maybe a lot of the people up there have represented the city for a long time. Council members, a couple new assembly members. But what has been done to this point? Like you, as you say, blame one man. He has a whole staff, you know. So has the state stepped in? I mean, senators, there's been deficits flagged in the past. Like, it feels incredulous to get to this point where a third of your second largest state's budget is just missing. Like, I understand you're laying out the problem right now, but you have to have begun talking about solutions, including from the state. Like, what can the state do?
Absolutely. So just I'll say a couple of things and speak they're welcome to. But first thing, I do start with this, right? As mayor, the buck stops with the mayor. And so, yes, there's a big, broad set of problems and challenges that got us here. And there's going to be, you know, and there should be every cause. But ultimately, the mayor is responsible for leading the city, responsible for hiring all the key personnel, and that can't be just sort of ignored or spread around. That is the fundamental cause of why we're doing this. But what are things that have been done? Obviously, we called out some of the practices. Obviously, it was not heeded. But let's take the health insurance. The health insurance thing was in where there was deception. Right? That we have $52 million in bills for 24 and 25. No one was told about those. Those are sitting, you know, those are not presented to the council budget hearings, not presented to, state officials. You know, that is extraordinarily disturbing. When you get in there and you start looking at each and every bill, you're not properly budgeting for a very known expense in your city. So it's again, that's a roughly $100 million of this $250 million deficit from health insurance. And so I think that's really important to highlight how some of those, you know, that was a key piece of what.
Okay.
Let's go back to.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Tracy.
It's okay.
Sorry, Tracy, I didn't mean to step on your question. Christine Sloan with CBS News New York. Mayor, first of all, quick question, and I have a follow-up. Saw the videos of the arrest by ICE agents in the city.
Yes.
Your position on that?
Absolutely. I want to thank Captain Neffels is here. I want to thank his leadership. He filmed one of those videos in which the ICE agent said that he would need a warrant. What we saw was neighbors, community members on their way to work indiscriminately had people profiled that their IDs in our city simply based on the color of their skin. That has no place in America. There's no place in the city. Against everything the city America's Golden Door stand for. So first, I can condemn in as long terms as possible what ICE did. We demand that they get out, that they never come back into that style of indiscriminate targeting ever. And we are committed to our sanctuary city policies, which state that we do not use city resources, city personnel to aid and assist ICE unless they have a signed judicial warrant.
Now, I'm going to follow up on that question. Tom Homan was at a press conference today. He said he's negotiating or talking with Minneapolis officials about cooperating with the jails, but at the same time, people on the street not be compromised. They also say that a number of people here were taken in because they were in the country illegally. Would you ever cooperate? Wouldn't that help people stay safe on your streets? He says he wants people who are, here, who have criminal backgrounds. Do you believe what he says, I guess? And what is your position on cooperating?
Sure. Clear. I don't believe what's coming out of the DHS. They lied about us. They said we had advanced knowledge of the operation. A lie. I don't know if anything that's coming out of that operation, and I think we've seen just extraordinary abuse from that. We laid out our policy. They all know what our policy is. If you have a signed criminal warrant, then yes, cooperate. Outside of that, no cooperation. That's our policy. It's been our policy. It keeps people in Jersey City.
They claim they don't need warrants on public spaces. So I guess your position on that, it's not true.
I mean, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to say what they do. I'm going to say that what they should have is a warrant, right? If they're both, this Trump's whole thing. The Trump's whole thing is, we should target the worst of the worst. Get a warrant, someone's committed a crime. It's not that hard to do. But more importantly, we're talking about affordability. Billions of our dollars are being spent on ICE. They're not being spent to make our healthcare affordable, not being spent to make housing affordable. We have an affordability crisis in the city and this country. And instead, we have a distraction where we are literally grounding people on their way to work who have lived in our community for 15, 20 years, raising their families. It is wild that the president is devoting his time going after hardworking people and not making life more affordable.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Hi, Jordan Cole, Slice of Culture. Two questions, sorry. And Tracy, thank you so much for speaking with the Times. Sorry, here, question. So my first question is understanding that we're not pointing fingers necessarily, but John Metro, all the other stuff, double dipping, right? I covered it as a reporter and just full of other financial stuff. What was a lot of this now, right? Sorry, there's a lot of significant figures that are coming out here. You're mentioning that we've exhausted our assets, no inventory, all of this. I guess the rudimentary question for me would be the auditor. What happened with the previous auditor? What was the understanding there?
Bylaws, if you read the audit, it does describe some of the practices here, but not all of them. And the key is the implementation, right? Is the job of the administration to take that audit.
Okay. And then the budget was calculated, I put it on the radio, 750 million. Does that impact 750 million budget that's been presented in previous council meetings that I've attended?
It was roughly the amount. We have not in part because our plan is not to present a 1 year short-term fix, but to present a 5-year plan to get us to a sustainable foundation. So will that amount change? It may, based on how we get to a sustainable. No, because we got to build that plan out.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Let's go over here.
Good afternoon, Mayor Solomon. Daniel Lowa, Hudson County View. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, have you been really researching the idea of a state coalition for state aid, working with the state of behind you also available help with the many issues in the process?
Understood. Yes, I am optimistic that we will develop a real partnership with the state. And I think the state, just a couple of things that are really important to emphasize again. We have ultimately a single economic footing. So we can get back to a completely self-sustained, stable financial basis in that 5-year period. That is not something that is, that is not something that is impossible to do. So yes, I'm very confident. And I think what the president of all our state legislators speaks to that. They wouldn't be here if they weren't fully committed. It's really a testament to their leadership, right? We are all standing here together, all saying that we're going to raise our hands and be the team that gets us to solve this crisis and towards a sustainable future. And we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at everything that's going to state, every municipality has been handled, and put in place that plan and working with our state.
Okay, thank you.
And then over.
I think, and right there.
Oh, sure. Hi, Dan Israel for Hudson County View. Two quick questions for you, Mayor Solomon. The first one would be, when do you foresee the rest of the financial audit, I guess you can call it, the rest of the departments concluded? And number two, as you talk about the budget crisis, I know you said earlier that you're more other sources of revenue, but are there any areas that, looking at the reality of the situation, you might foresee some cuts, whether it be to staffing or programs or departments in general?
It's a great question. Okay. We have, I think, the broad scope of where we stand today outlined. I think in the coming month is when we're going to be doing the work, having our town hall schedule, be out in the community, explaining what's going on in the residents of Jersey City. We're going to be basically working with our consulting teams to come up with our internal teams to come up with that plan. And that's when we'll be able to answer questions like that. Detail exactly how we're going to be able to respond.
Excellent, thank you.
Appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. So great question. We have been working with KRE, the developer there, on a solution there. We will not be we will have a solution with them. We're grateful to have some initial conversation what go in its place, but to put a fine point on that. The JCRA was in the process of spending another $40 million on that project, and we would absolutely not. Every single cent is not going to be spent, and we should have more news about that. Yeah, I think we will have more news on that because the property was not being closed. Yeah.
Several residents talk about how they didn't know what they were talking about, seeing ice stage in the heights at the version west side of So the question is not, are they worried? Because they are. More importantly, the city council.
Yeah.
Ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sees what we understand to be a resident. What is the parts of that how
Right. So we are working very closely with our public safety director, Ambrose, and Chief Kearns to give clear guidance to JCPD officers on how to handle the situation. Describing one of the many kind of right? If you are seeing a massive individual with unclear, markings on who they are, throwing people into unmarked vehicles, where are you? And it puts law enforcement and federal laws against each other in situations that can become extremely dangerous. So the core of what to stop that is for ICE to get out of Jersey City. That's you can't lose sight of that if they stop doing that, these extraordinarily dangerous interactions would not happen. They're going to give our officers guidance on how we, in the executive order, we actually call training our officers with federal agents, right? De-escalate with the federal agents, avoid situations in which our officers may be hurt or injured. So that is very top of mind, and this is actively working on getting that training out.
Mr. Mayor, Fernanda Vázquez from Telemundo for
Yes.
I would like to have a statement about el mensaje para los padres de familia que tienen mucho y no han enviado a sus hijos a la escuela después de ese fin de semana.
Mi corazón con ellos, porque su temor es real y es horrible que es el niño en Minneapolis, 5 años, no sé entiende en español, but I mean, you know, detenido un hijo de 5 años, es horrible. Yo sé que los padres tienen miedo y solo puedo decir que su ciudad fue contigo. Su ciudad es contigo. Nuestra ciudad.
Is there any plan from the city to those families who are afraid of sending those kids? Maybe any particular plan? Bringing the kids to school or something like that?
Las escuelas públicas tienen un regla que es para entrar a las escuelas. Nosotros tenemos regla que es puede estar en los edificios de nuestra ciudad. Ojalá que pueda decir más, pero esos son los.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to conclude this part of the press conference.
Oh, Andy.
Yes.
I think there are 2 more.
Hello, Andy with Jersey. There was a reference of corruption in the report. Is there believed to have been anything illegal that happened during the previous administration? Would you consider deferring any of the allegations to another outside agency or law enforcement? And again, I know you said the buck stops with the mayor, but is the mayor the only one to blame? The former mayor the only one to blame?
So the first thing is, you know, my job is to come up with a solution. There are other bodies that have statutory powers, and they should, you know, we expect them to look at what's happening. When it comes to, again, full investigation, probably lots of different causes, lots of different areas. But again, you know, we don't want to, you know, I think sometimes, you know, people use the complexity of the world to kind of obfuscate what happened. And ultimately, the guy in charge is the guy in charge. And I feel that on my shoulders 3 weeks into this job and know that I have a duty to deliver for the people of Jersey City, regardless of the obstacles. And, you know, hopefully you guys saw a little bit in my remarks. I'm living. The city's rainy day fund was depleted during economic prosperity. 1,000 city properties were sold. All the money needs to $100 million in healthcare costs really accounted for. $3 million in late fees for prescription drug payments. $3 million in IRS overpayments. The list goes on and on and on. And, you know, I'm living, the people of Jersey City have a right to be living. One more? Yeah, one more. Two more, then that's it. Yes.
Hi, Anthony Orlando, New Jersey Urban News. Following your executive order to limit the use of city locations as sort of staging areas for detaining immigrants, what else is your administration trying to do to increase protections?
Sure. Yeah, so we will do everything that we can to maximize those protections within the limits of the law, right? So that's the standard. If anybody has ways in which we should be doing things, please let us know. Let me highlight just a couple of things. The first is every city employee, uniformed and civilian, on our city rules that limit cooperation with ICE. Prevented unless we have that judicial agreement that's signed. Second thing we're doing is, again, those rules that prevent city property, we're going to look into it to enforce that. The third thing is expanding proactive your rights training and legal resources. I want to commend Councilman Efforts again, Councilman Little, both of them have organized your rights training immediately. That's something that we continue to push and make sure everybody knows their rights.
But what about protections at public transit systems?
So a couple of things. One, just the greatness of bureaucracies here. Public transit stops have their own police forces. So NJ Transit has its own police force. It has its own police force. So they're the ones that are going to be directly responsible for some of those. The whole, again, why this is so damaging so long, so many levels here, but we need our local community to trust law enforcement. And yes, we have JCPD patrolling up and down Central and West Side, Ocean and Columbus and Newark, in which there are lots of bus stops. And we want our local people to trust that. They would say, hey, you know something. and, ICE is sort of basically destroying any form of trust that would have been built among immigrant communities.
Thank you.
Last question was.
I think it's, right here in that way,
Hi, I'm Valencia Ricardo for Spanish Agency. I just have a punctual question about the last detentions. Do you have the ID, any names of the person, how many there were?
Yeah, so it was 10 people who were detained on the operations that was conducted on Sunday. Those folks are being called. If anyone is a family member who was detained, there are organizations that provide legal resources, that provide assistance, that ensure that the rights of the folks who were detained are upheld. And some of that information, who those are. And that's what we have. Sure.
Thank you, everyone. If you're interested in getting into the numbers, we'll have a staff member here take you down to the conference room in the basement, and we'll do a technical briefing down there later. But thank you, everyone.